The James Show Podcast.
Still, no reports of any injuries, much less deaths. I don't even think anyone got a headache from the retaliation from Iran today. Hopefully that's the end of it. That's the super optimistic view, and I'm leaning optimistic on this. But if you're a little concerned about sleeper cells, my answer is I can't totally brush that off. You know, we have seen sleeper cells happen. We've seen it not just in the United States, but in many other countries, the Bataclan attack and the stuff that happens in German Christmas markets and for some weird pattern. No, it happens. And so is that a concern? Yeah, a little bit. Is it something that's going to keep me from going to the grocery store or the local shopping center? Don't be ridiculous. But can I completely dismiss it? Absolutely not. I do have the recognition that if you're concerned about sleeper cells, sure as hell hope you aren't one of the people that was wanting an open border, okay with an open border for the last 4 years or whenever D has been in power. Sure hope you're not part of the crowd that wants to disarm American citizens. Yeah, there's sleeper cells everywhere. Now turn in your guns. Nah, doesn't make any sense. Oh, there's sleeper cells everywhere. Let's keep an open border. That doesn't make any sense. Other than that, I can't you would be naive to dismiss it 100%. So how much do I dismiss it? Not even 90%. I think I'm about 70% dismissal. Like I don't know, I give it a 1 out of 3 chance that there's a sleeper cell that's going to do something about this. This is Jim in Comanche. You're on WBAP.
Hi. I keep up to date quite a bit on aviation. They only built about 15 B-2s, and they've lost a couple to accidents. In situations like this, with a full load at maximum range, they usually take off with a light load of fuel, and once they reach cruising altitude, they're top off the tanks. I would think they probably refueled 3 or 4 times each way for that extra safety margin in case there's anything unforeseen, like having to divert or something. They've got plenty of fuel to do whatever they have to do.
Are you a veteran?
I was in the Army and the Navy.
Yeah. Look, I'm interested in details. I don't want to be dismissive of you guys, but I also don't want the show to turn into some internecine argument between different veterans, and I'm just the proxy for it.
Okay.
No, I appreciate your call. This is funny to me because you don't have anything to say to me. You're responding to other callers who are responding to other callers, and you guys are. I don't know. I watch veterans do this in real life where they get onto each other for getting something wrong. Like it's the C-28. No, it's the C-27, and I don't even know what any of these numbers are. So it's kind of amusing to listen to from the outside perspective, the layman, non-trained perspective. That's all.
Okay, well, it's just kind of surprising to a lot of people. There's only about 12 or 15 B-2s.
Hey, I didn't know that.
So much, a lot of people think there was a lot more of them.
No, and that's why I like to hear from you guys, because I don't know this stuff. And there's a lot of people out there with no military background. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know if we had 100 of them, 1,000 of them, 6 of them. I didn't know. So you added a little to the show.
And 2 of them have been sitting in Diego Garcia for a while, probably as a diversion, because everybody thought that was a logical base to operate from because of its distance from Iran, but I guess that was never the intention.
Yeah, go look up that base on Google Maps, people. That's got to be like one of the worst places to get stationed. That's where you get stationed if you tick off your boss, because you are just in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do. They don't have skee ball, nothing. I don't even think they have like a Best Buy. Richard, Collinsville, you're on WBAP.
Well, James, I thought I'd put in my 2 cents worth. And can you hear me all right?
I can. You sound great, Richard.
Good. What Trump did was conduct what used to be called a punitive expedition. If you listen to the Marine hymn, from halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, both of those incidents were punitive expeditions designed to go in and destroy a specific kind of target and then leave. And we've done this a number of times over the years, but here in the modern age, they no longer seem to like the old terms like punitive expedition. What gave Trump the legal authority to conduct this punitive expedition was the fact that it was a threat to our national security, and so he could act without declaring war, because he would have to go to Congress to declare war. And you don't need to declare war for a punitive expedition. So he has gone in and destroyed the object that needed to be destroyed. Now, it's up to the Iranian people. If they don't want to be free, they're going to stay in their homes. And here's the second part of the problem. Where is the Republican Guard? Nobody's seen them. I've got a suspicion that they have integrated Republican Guard squad-level units in residential areas all over Tehran, all over the country. So the residents know that there are Republican Guards armed within their midst. So if they decide to hit the street and demonstrate, these Republican Guard units can arm up and go out and take care of them. That's my take on what I think is preventing the Iranian people from hitting the streets and demonstrating and changing the regime. I also believe that it's a mistake to let Khomeini live. He needs to die. And those who predict, that could cause World War III, no, it's not going to cause World War III. It will just get rid of the head of the Republican Guard, which is a religious, fanatical group. And they put a lot of weight on what that old man says. And that old man's not going to surrender. I don't believe he will surrender. And that's my take on it.
That's a fantastic take, Richard. I appreciate you sharing with us. That's Richard in Collinsville. Some people already losing their mind. A couple viral videos. Going to spell that out for you. First off, here's one of our neighbors who I think slightly disagrees with the decision to bomb Iran.
Dear MAGA, you are traitors to our country, and your golden god is a treasonous pig. And you will pay for the crimes you have committed against our country.
Easy.
I can reassure you of that. Now, I'm not going to be the one that's doing this. I'm not going to. The courts, the world are going to hold you accountable because, you see, you are terrorists. And what you have done here by supporting this man and this illegal act of war in Iran, it's going to have massive consequences. But I know that I'm on the right side of history, and I know that there are millions more of us that are on the right side of history. And just like those filthy Nazis, you will be wiped. And I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait for the marshals to come in and arrest all of them. And they will. They stole this election. They did it with Elon's help. And they will take all of his money. All of it. It's going to be the greatest thing to ever happen in America. And it will be because of President Trump. And it'll be great. He'll make America great again by sacrificing his existence in a federal prison for the treason he's committed against our country.
Excuse me, sir. This is a Wendy's. Calm down, Braden. How long have you been hearing that this guy's going to go to jail? How many times have you been told that this guy is going to go? You've been told this about once every 2 weeks for the last 10 years. In the James Show history, in the first 18 months that Donald Trump had been president, the great people at Grabien made a montage that really only covered the first 2 years because, you know, about 6 months or so before the election happened and then the 18 months in his first election. This was from the first 18 months of Donald Trump's first term. So we're talking about, 2018? We had this much material. This is what they were telling you in 2018, and they've told you every year since that he's about to go to prison.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency. Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
It was the beginning of the end today.
The beginning of the end. It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The wall's closing in.
The wall's closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football game, we're in the third quarter. May even be the beginning of the end.
We begin tonight with the bombshell.
Donald Trump is in a lot of trouble.
Trump is in trouble.
The president will resign.
Another hour, another bombshell.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term.
Resignation.
Resignation. I don't think this president is going to serve out his term. Mr. Trump will not serve out his term.
He will not serve out his term.
No way. No how. Breaking news.
Absolute bombshell.
I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over. It's over.
The wall's closing in.
The wall's closing in.
This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight. I expect Trump to depart.
This week will be the watershed week. Trump is in big trouble.
Trump's in a lot of trouble.
It's a sign of a terrified old man who feels the
Walls
Closing in.
The walls
are increasingly
Closing in on him.
Tonight, the walls
are closing in.
today changed everything. This is the beginning of the end. Today, the biggest
tipping point for the Trump administration.
What a historic day. The bombshells, they fell.
It's entropy and it's crumbling internally. He's underwater. He feels the walls closing in.
Could his testimony be a turning point?
We may be at a tipping point.
It's the beginning of
The end.
The beginning
of the end.
Another bombshell.
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 Bombshell. Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell.
Bombshell. This is a bombshell. It is a bombshell.
I am beginning to resent the word bombshell.
Here it is. You've already gotten, 9 years of this, 10 years of this? And they're still saying it? Well, after this Iranian thing, he's going to end up in jail. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. How long can y'all say that before you're like, oh, maybe the people who are telling me this, they may not be correct in their predictions? You've been told every couple of weeks for 10 straight years this guy's going to jail. Why do they still say it? Do they still really believe it? It's a bombshell. Beginning of the end. Remember, that came out in the summer of 2018. So that montage made up of older clips itself, 7 years old. So I do not think he's going to go to jail. No, I do not think the walls are closing in. But I don't just play that to make fun of your political opponents. This is very good information in deciphering what is about to happen. So when you see articles of impeachment that are going to get filed any day now over these strikes and this Iran situation, you'll say, yeah, I'm not surprised. In fact, that's entirely predictable, kind of expected. Yawn, move on. You don't have to get all excited and exercise. Text your son 9:45 at night. Hey, what do you think's going to happen with Iran? Nothing. We just blew up their nuclear facilities. What do you think they're going to invade? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I don't play these montages. I just want to say that again. I don't play these montages just to make fun of them. I just want to set the context for when they say what they're inevitably going to say. This is illegal. This is unconstitutional. He's going to end up in prison. Someone's going to bring up charges. Walls are closing in. Beginning of the end. You've heard all this 1,000 times. Then you know who the hacks are. Because you have people that have, in the last 48 hours, all of a sudden concerned about the constitutionality of dropping bombs on someone without Congress's specific approval. Did any of these people say this when Obama dropped 26,171 bombs? Now, I'm not saying what Trump did is unconstitutional. I'm not saying what Obama did is constitutional. I'm just saying for the same people, do you have any consistency? Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter, like this is some kind of memo at work. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. That's from the man himself about 30 minutes ago. Well, I am watching the live feeds over here on Fox News. They have a live picture, Cutter. Oh, nope, now they switched to the old picture of the missiles getting shot down. right before the James Show started. So this is now video that's just like 2 or so hours old, maybe 3 tops. But it seems like it's quieting down here. And allow me to continue my optimism. This really might be the worst of it past us. Does the United States do another bombing run? What on earth could the predicate be for this one? See, that's why I think a lot of people think they chose the excuse for their, we're just getting rid of their nuclear facility. Not we want regime change. Not we want them to stop funding Hezbollah and Hamas. I mean, they want these things, but they don't go out and say it. So if they just use the pretense of, this is an attack on the Iranian people, this is an attack on their nuclear facilities only. Now you can stop the bombing. You don't have to escalate. You don't have to do anything else. And you get to withdraw and save face. He put himself in a very shallow position to extract himself. And I mean that in a good way. Should Iran just kind of give their little, here's 14 missiles we launched at you. It doesn't make sense that they would give him a heads up. I don't know why he would lie about that, but that just seems kind of weird. Be that as it may, they fired some missiles. No one got hurt. What's Iran's pretext for continuing this? If the U.S. doesn't stop again, bomb again, do they stop? Let's hope so. You want to hear where it gets weird? If you go through your social media feed today, you might find someone passing around this old clip from Hillary. This is back in 2008, which, let me set the context for younger people. George W. Bush is still in power, and there's an election where she's trying to get through the primary past Barack Obama and John Edwards. And listen to how hawkish Hillary Clinton is in 2008 on Iran.
And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
And what was suspicious at the time is just a couple years later, there's some more Iran hullabaloo going on, and you have one of the guys that's the figurehead on the other side. You just heard from a Team Blue elite member. What about John Bolton, who was previously Secretary of State? No, he was something under George W. Bush, but he's been trying to bomb Iran for 20, 30 years. This is him in 2010.
Well, Israel's got a problem because once the fuel rods are inserted into the reactor, an attack on the reactor would almost certainly release radiation into the atmosphere, given where Bushehr is located, right on the Persian Gulf, possibly into the water as well. So from Israel's point of view, if they were going to do anything militarily about Bushehr, they've only got a few days until the fuel rods are inserted. Their problem is, of course, they've got the rest of Iran's nuclear weapons program, the uranium enrichment facilities and so on, to worry about too. And I don't think Israel has the luxury to attack in the next few days, wait a few months, and attack again. So that's why I think if this goes forward, and it certainly looks like it's going to, it's a major, major plus for the Iranian weapons program.
Now, I can't really explain directly why that bothers me, but I think you can feel it too, that our spidey sense goes off, both me and you, when you hear the old guard establishment elites from both parties. And I don't mean little r Republicans and little r Democrats. I mean capital R Republicans, people who got their check from being in an administration. They both have been trying to bomb Iran for over 15 years now, 20 years now. Doesn't that make you a little suspicious? Whenever the old school moneyed incumbents in both sides of the aisle agree on something that you're not quite sure about, doesn't that make you doubly suspicious? Like, isn't it curious that every time we have one of these little budget deals or a budget shutdown or a debt ceiling, whatever compromise it has to be made, one side agrees to raise spending on social programs, the other side agrees to raise spending on defense and things like that. And whatever it is, they both agree to always spend more money, to always grow government. There's never the cut. It never gets smaller. You never spend less. Y'all just, everyone's okay with it. Well, this is what we got to do to save it. Y'all both agree that we have to spend more money. Aren't you suspicious of that? I kind of have the same feeling here because there's a lot of people out there who right now are praising Trump. They're like, yes, I like this little surgical strike, and hopefully this will bring peace. But they don't want peace. They need their other forever war. They liked having Afghanistan. It was a money pit where trillions of dollars were sucked away from the taxpayers and given to cronies. Then we had Ukraine, but if that's about to shut down and Trump's getting out of it anyway, can we find the next great excuse to take about, $200 billion a year and funnel it through some money laundering program we call a international conflict? Top story of the day. It's kind of a twofer here. Trump bombs Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend. Iran fires back right before the James show started today. And the numbers have been kind of fluid, as they normally are when something is this new of a story. But in Donald Trump's post on social media just about 45 minutes ago, he said that 14 missiles were fired at American military installations in the region. 13 were shot down. One of them was off target and headed in a harmless direction, so they just let it go. So after this, what's next? I don't know. I guess best case scenario is nothing, but people sure do seem to be inflamed right now. Even if there's nothing else militarily that's going to happen. Is there going to be sleeper cell reactions? Is there going to be not even sleeper cell? It could just be some independent guy. What comes to mind is the Pulse nightclub shooting. Remember in Orlando, there was the Pulse nightclub shooting that happened. It was during Obama because the guy's modus operandi, or his reason for doing it, he even said himself, and we have the text messages between him and his girlfriend the night of the shooting. He was upset about Barack Obama bombing some Syrians. And he was kind of on their side because he was a Muslimist. And so he just independently got a gun, got a whole bunch of ammo, went to the Pulse nightclub. Actually, he went to Disney Springs first, saw a whole bunch of armed guards there and said, I'm going to go to some place that doesn't have decent security and shoot that place up. But there could just be one-off guys like that. So I'm really hesitant to say we're done with this, but militarily, I think there's a good case to be made for optimism. 800-288-9227. This is Bill in Grand Prairie. You're on WBAP. Bill, go.
James, I'm not even somebody that would normally call into a radio show. I listen to your show every afternoon on my drive home. I think everybody should have their own opinion. It's America. That's what's great about it. But what's blowing me away, and this is, we wouldn't even be in this situation if Obama didn't drop off with nearly $1 trillion on the runway in Iran in the middle of the night and funded all of this since then. Secondarily, I'm listening to 94.5, one radio station over on accident, and it's D.L. Hughley saying that they can't believe what a liar, how administration is. I mean, have they not been around for the last 5 to 8 years at all?
So what are they're complaining that he's lying about what?
That every single thing that he's promised in the campaign, that every time he opens his mouth, that this administration is lying. So the only thing he's opened his mouth about is I'm going to work on immigration, doing the heck out of that right now. In my opinion, the guy might be a little bit of a pompous ass, but he does what he said he's going to do, and that I can appreciate. But
well, look, what you're hearing on other outlets, it's just an intellectual shortcut to not actually have to debate their point of their worldview based on the merits of its own argument. So that's why they call you a Nazi, so they don't have to debate you anymore. And it makes sense from their point of view, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people listening to us more so, Bill. But that's something you recognize when they call you a Hitler, when they call you a Nazi. It's so they don't have to have the argument anymore. So they don't have to explain their positions. They can just dismiss you, and rightfully so, because if Hitler really was reincarnated and put in front of us today, we wouldn't be debating his Social Security tables or whatever.
No, I get, but for the other side to say the ignorance is frightening. First of all, where does a semi-comedian at best, now he's a political expert, which is a joke in itself.
Well, hang on. I go softer on him because, Bill, comedians often have great political opinions. They have made a living being observant and finding the nuance and, the little intricacies or what do you call it? Yeah. Idiosyncrasies is the word I was trying to sound smart by saying. And I think he's a pretty damn good comedian.
It's true.
Listen, so
normally it's funny because it's true. That's what's so funny about it. But what's funny about this is you have this guy saying that I can't believe how bad this administration lies every time they open their mouth. This coming from the folks that elected these last two groups of people that basically ran our country into the ground. And you want to talk about lie, cover the whole thing about Biden's cognitive, blah. I mean, I could go over 1,000 things, but I know other people want to call. But I mean, it is just, it is comical.
The lie part is comical because 1 year ago today, that guy was still probably on board with Joe Biden being the presidential nominee. We're almost to the 1 year anniversary of the debate that changed the world. He was still sharp as a tack 1 year ago. Sharp as a tack, Bill.
That's not a lie. That's not a lie.
That's not a lie at all. All right, thank you very much.
James, nothing to it, buddy. You guys be good. Listen to 94.5 when you get a chance.
Never.
Idiocracy I'm talking about.
No. Leave it here for the rest of your life. Do not ever turn the channel. Don't even go to our sister stations. I mean, maybe accidentally, but no. You either go to 820 AM or 93.3 FM WBAP. I've got 4 kids. They're going to have to go to college. I need you to help.
The James Show Podcast.